Welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Hey! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The first Fat Man on Batman of the year 2018. We are, as always, at the Scum Villainy Cantina here on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California. Put your hands together so the folks at home know you're real. Now, for anyone who's not here this evening, you don't appreciate the lengths that Angelinos have had to go to get to this show tonight. It's fucking raining here. And as I said to my wife today, I was like, we went to order a pizza, it's fucked up, I didn't know this. Some pizza places don't do delivery anymore because they're just like, call Grubhub or what's the other one?
Seamless. Uber Eats.
Apparently there's a lot of them, but like the pizza parlor, they don't have a dedicated delivery person. Somebody will just come, like Postmates will come and pick it up and shit. So I told my wife today, I was like, hey man, can you order a pizza? Like we were driving, I was driving, so she wasn't driving. I was like, do fucking something. And so I said, order a pizza, would you? And she went to order it from the place. And she's like, oh fuck. And I was like, what? And she's like, there's a surge. And I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, because there's so many people ordering pizza and ordering food to be delivered that the surge rate, like on Uber, they charge you more if you order at that particular point. She's like, we got to pay an extra $5. I was like, it's fucking worth it to not leave the house. And she's like, you're the problem, because you're willing to pay these surge prices.
And the best part, though, is that you're in the car.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to leave the house. We're out of the house.
I know.
We don't want to stop the car.
I didn't want to swing it. It was raining really hard. But I said to my wife, I was like, this town, like when it rains, it's like snow in other places where people are like, oh shit, slow down, don't move, let's stay in the house and shit. Keep the kids home. Like, I woke up this morning to alerts, it's raining, keep your children home from school. So it took a long time for everybody to get here, I'd assume. Thank you so much for doing so. I spent last week, January 1st, I did Hollywood Babylon on New Year's Eve, and then 8 hours later, oh, right on, Ralph's here. And then 8 hours later, I was on a plane and went to Florida, went to Sarasota to work with the Ringling College of Art and Design kids and this company called Digital Caviar and Semcor Productions. Making a flick where like 70% of the crew is made up of students from Ringling. So the idea is they're on a set, like learning rather than just being in the classroom.
Are they learning to be clowns when they're not helping you out on the set?
They don't do that down there anymore.
No, that's not that college?
No, well now that the circus is gone, like nobody even references it anymore. Like,
wow.
What built all this? They're like, shut the fuck up. But Ringling, the College of Art and Design, been there since like 1935. Like John Ringling at one point was the richest human being in the world. And so he built this entire town. He had a massive art collection, just like the guy they made the movie about. What's his name? Getty. So they've got the best of everything down there and stuff. So that school is one of those places, and they instituted a film school like 12 years ago or something. And the film school's really emerged, become like one of the hottest film schools in the country. So last July, we went down and shot a segment of this horror anthology movie I'm doing. It's kind of like Creepshow, called Kilroy was here. So we did a bunch in July and when it was fucking hot. And we went back in January. January 1st, I flew down. We did another segment. And when I got there, I was like, I haven't seen you folks in a year. And they're like, you were here in June. And I was like, wow, it feels like it was such a long time ago, man. But they're like, you're high. And I was like, there it is. But they were all sweet. They all remembered. They were like, you got us ice cream. And that triggered a memory. I was like, oh, shit, you're right. Like, I generally, like, I'm at this age in my life and career where it's like, I love making movies. I still treat it special and shit. But I also don't treat it too special. Like, like our kid. We didn't fetishize our kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, she's our kid. But I was never like, what a little angel. I'm like, boy, she says stupid shit. Like, keep it real. So, on the job, like, I tend to just stray from set sometimes. I'm like, how long we got? They're like, 10 minutes. I'm like, well, I'm going to go, but like, if you guys are ready and I'm not here, just shoot a few. And they're like, how are we going to direct without a director? I'm like, you'll figure it out. So I'll go and pick up, like, on Kilroy. It was so fucking hot in July. and we were all sweating. It was that humidity down in fucking Florida.
Swamp hot.
Oh my God. And there were alligators nearby and shit. Like there was a lady where we were shooting in the park, a ranger lady and stuff. And she was rolling by and she's like, oh, I know you. And I said, hey, what are you doing, man? Like looking for alligators? She's like, yeah. And we found one like 2 blocks back. And I was like, are you fucking serious? And she's like, I'm a park ranger. Yeah, that's all we do is look out for alligators. She's like, just don't fuck with him. He won't fuck with you. I was like, that's it? Like, you don't want to give me a pointy stick or a shotgun or something like that? Just some sound advice? Don't fuck with him? She's like, generally, he won't come over here. He sees all these lights. He won't be here. But we'll keep an eye on him. We'll keep, like, circling and stuff. So I was there shooting, and I was like, I want to get the fuck out of here. There's an alligator here. So I went to the, like, food store, and I bought a bunch of ice cream and stuff. And then came back, and I was like, hey, who wants ice cream? And I had it in a big-ass bag, and I was having everybody grab their ice cream and stuff. So when I came back, they were like, you bought us ice cream. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that. And for the rest of the week, like, I kept hearing about it. They're like, you bought us ice cream that one time. And I was like, yeah, but that, like, stop asking for ice cream. Like, and I would have went and got ice cream, but it was so fucking cold was my point. Last time we were down there, it was hot. Went in January 1st, and there's this, like, cold snap going across the East Coast, which includes somehow Florida. So it was 35 degrees at one point in Florida. And I was like, trying to smoke out on the balcony. And like, if you're in Chicago and you're trying to smoke on the balcony, you get it. It's cold. You're like, it's fucking in Chicago. So you put on, a couple coats and shit. I was in Florida. I had a bathrobe, a fucking coat, and a blanket wrapped around me so I could sit on the balcony, smoke a joint, and be like, Florida. It was so fucking cold. So I didn't get any ice cream, but I did at one point. I got donuts, and I also got McDonald's. I went into a McDonald's. Like, this was fucked up. This had nothing to do with the show, but just a side note. I went into a Dunkin' Donuts, and like, I was like, well, there's 60 people on the crew, get 10 dozen donuts and stuff, and everybody pass out donuts. We go into Dunkin' Donuts. It's a Sunday at, let's say, not 12, 1 o'clock. So they've had a morning rush of sorts. I understand. It's Sunday. People like donuts on Sunday. Place is called Dunkin' Donuts. So if I go in there and I'm like, give me all the donuts, don't you think they'd be like, oh my God, take the fucking donuts?
We're closing early.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's our manifesto, to sell you all the donuts we fucking can. And I just made their job easier. So I came in and I was like, 10 donuts. And the place froze up as if I was like, give me all your money, put it in a bag. Like, they're like, we got to ask the manager. And the manager had to call somebody to be like, can we sell 10 donuts or 10 dozen donuts in a row and shit? And I was like, can we break it up? Like, I buy some and this person buys some. And they were like, well, now you told us no. And so it was crazy, man. And so it couldn't get as many as I wanted, but did get a decent amount and stuff. But it was a process of about 15, 20 minutes to see if they could sell the donuts to us at all. And I was just like, if I owned that franchise, I'd be like, if somebody comes in asking for 10 dozen donuts, try to sell them fucking 20, man. Like, oh my God. So got the donuts, went back. At night, I went to McDonald's. This shows you the difference between the two. I went to McDonald's because it was closest, like, burger joint. And it was late, and it was starting to get chilly. So I was like, oh, I'll get burgers and cheeseburgers for everybody. So I go into the McDonald's, and I was like, yeah, I'm interested in getting, let me say, 40 hamburgers and 40 cheeseburgers. How long would that take? And she goes, 7 minutes. That clown trains them right, man. It's like, if somebody comes in trying to buy a vast amount of our shitty food, fucking sell it to them, man. So I went and got a bunch of burgers, then hand out the burgers.
Did you drive by Dunkin' Donuts just waving?
Like, yeah, like, this is how you do business. So I was down there shooting in July, now shooting for the last week there. It was really, really chilly, but I had a great time, shot some fun shit and whatnot. And then just got home literally the other day. But we were working with Robert Kurtzman, one of the creators of the KMB Effects group, the people that do prosthetics and stuff like that, on all the movies you ever saw growing up, including like all the Evil Deads and stuff. He did our Tusk Walrus. He created the walrus in Tusk. I remember he read the script and we had a phone call. And he's like, I was like, I don't know how to describe what I'm looking for. He goes, Frankenstein walrus. And I go, oh my God, yes, that's exactly it. And so he built that and stuff. So I was working with him on this as well. and had to do some bloody effects. People get macheted in the face and macheted through the gut. And as a kid who grew up on 80s horror movies with prosthetics more than like CG, like I was sitting there watching a guy who did this on Evil Dead. So like, you know, you'd be like, hey man, what if we move it over here? And Kurtzman goes, yeah, you could, but what we learned on Evil Dead was if you go over here, and you realize he's referencing fucking cinema history, you know, and you're like, oh, it's breathtaking and shit. So we got to hatchet a motherfucker in the face, and I see how they do it. I never did a reverse in my life, I don't think. Maybe once in Mallrats, when he's going for that tape and shit, and then the tape falls into his hand. I think we did like a filament wire and pulled it and then ran it in reverse, maybe, if I can remember correctly. But I've never, I can't remember really doing it. So this felt like at least my first reverse effect of somebody getting chopped in the face. In order to do that, in order to whoosh, hit you in the face with a machete, it starts there and then you shoot it in reverse. So every motion has to look like that. So it's really hard on the person getting hit in the face because you have to go from, oh, fuck, I'm hit in the face, to this is what I looked like before I got hit in the face. Like, you know, step backwards. It's kind of a unique skill, man. But like I said, look, I've never done this before. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob has the con. What do you say, the con or the com?
The con.
What?
CONN.
What does that mean?
I don't know, maritime shit. I got it from Hunt for Red October. That's all I can say.
Yeah. But I didn't know if it was com. Like if it was com, it's like command center. I'm like, all right, I get that.
I think it's con for control, but I don't know where the second N comes from. Was somebody else
Anybody
in the
military?
Navy?
I think it was awesome. You're like, I was in the military, but I don't fucking know. Shame on me. They trained you guys right. You're like immediately filled with shame for not knowing. Take a load off, man. Have a drink. It's okay not to know. None of us fucking know, man.
It was either Red October or Wrath of Khan. It was the first time I ever heard that. Mr. Savick, you have the com.
I thought you meant you have the con. Like, con. It was fun to be like, Bob, you have the con. And I might have said com, and people were like, I don't get it. And so
we used to be clowns.
Yeah. I gave him the set and watched him work and had him be like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. It was simple. And then we have the technology now to play it backwards and watch it and see if it works. Like, he's like, we didn't have this back in the day. We didn't have like Video Assist or anything. He's like, so we couldn't see it. We were just hoping that it would work, and we'd see that when we developed the film. But there, you could do it right there on the fucking set. And it was fun, dude. It was so dope. Like, I forget that before I fell in love with comedy and shit like that, I was like a rubber horror kid. I love that shit, like fucking blood and guts exploding and shit. And not like the torture porn shit. I don't like that. The Jasons, the Freddy, the prom nights, the Halloweens, of course, and stuff. So it was fun to do that for a week. Felt like fantasy camp. And since you're kind of working with kids who haven't worked yet professionally, they're still like, oh, you're the guy that did Clerks, as opposed to, oh, you did Yoga Hosers. So they're still looking at you like you've done something, and it's kind of nice. Like I don't know, the whole thing. They've got passion, you know. And I keep telling them, it's like I work in an industry where I meet a lot of people who age out of this job. At first they head toward it, but then you know they get sick of it, and I don't know how. I said, don't ever lose that, man. You guys got all the passion and enthusiasm in the world and shit. So it was good. It was nice, like, way to start 2018 to recharge my batteries. But I got to work with Jason Mewes, of course. Got to work with him. I fucking wake up and work with him every day. But I brought him down, and he played a janitor for the second time in his career. He was on a TV show called Todd and the Book of Evil, where he played a janitor. So in this short, one of the shorts in the anthology, I was like, I need you to play a janitor. He's like, I could fucking do that. I got experience. So he came down and played. My daughter came down and played, man. It was a good time. And the monster looks fucked up. It's based on Kilroy, like the idea of the guy who hangs over the wall on the fence. So Kurtzman, when he was creating the makeup, you know, I was like, go for it, man. He's like, what do you want me to do about the nose? I said, don't make it look exactly like Kilroy, but suggestive. Our character gets like burned and shit, so he loses all features. So, you know, and he melts, and that's why the nose becomes that way. So I said, let me see what that would look like in the real world. And the first rendition of it, man, he has this like long ass nose like the drawing that hangs real low. And so I got on the phone with Bob, and I was just like, it's just a giant cock, isn't it, Bob? And he's like, I can't help it. That's what a big, long, dangly fucking nose looks like, man. And Bob's the guy that made Marky Mark's dick on Boogie Nights. So he goes, and I know how to do a rubber dick, So we had him scale it back. And the effect is still fairly ridiculous looking when you see it. But, he's also hatcheting you and macheting you at the same time. So maybe it's, you know how to feel. You'll look at him and be like, that looks weird. And then you're like, oh, fuck, he's a bloody killer who eats babies and shit like that. He's this figure of myth, suburban legend shit. So I've been having a fucking blast. So I come home like ready to face the new year, be creative. And it looks like we're getting ever closer to starting Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Woo! The sequel to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So this was a nice like palate cleanser, nice kind of like, way to kick off the year. What you been up to?
I ordered McDonald's from Uber Eats. I did that on New Year's Day.
Did you?
I was feeling like ringing in the new year by hating myself just enough. How lazy
but not
are
enough
you?
to leave the house yourself.
How lazy are you? Lazy enough to make them bring me McDonald's. Which, thank you, world. That's kind of awesome. I had what was for me my first ever feature pitch. You know what this is?
No.
It is when they're in Hollywood, the way the movies work, sometimes there are like, I wrote my own movie and I love it and I love it to death and here, please make it. And then there's the studio has bought a property and they're looking for writers to adapt it.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And so you are one of probably 20 or 30 people coming into a studio offering your take on the material, what you will say and how you will make it different.
This is what I do with it,
right.
Kind of thing.
So I had my first one of those. I went in to Sony and pitched a version of a comic book that they had bought. I don't think I can say which comic book, but you probably haven't read it.
Sounds like you got the job with a cell like that.
I really did. You probably haven't read it. But it was a fascinating experience. Like to have to read something and digest something and figuring out how to make it similar enough to the source material that they won't bounce you out of the room, but still change enough to show that you did something and just didn't regurgitate a book. It's an interesting exercise to have to do. And then to sit there and pitch it to producers and studio executives, and in some case, the creators of the book, and say, here's why I fucked with the thing that you did that you love for money.
Yeah, they're like, can we have some? How about a kickback?
Yeah, nah, man.
Why don't they let the creators do it? They're like, they can't because they're creative.
You would think that given that they know the book better than anybody else in the world, that they would at the very least get a shot at it. And maybe the creators did have a shot and it just didn't fly. But sometimes it's you're too close to it. Sometimes it's you have no distance and you can't sacrifice the things that have to be sacrificed to make it good.
Right.
One of the things that I both like and dislike about Sin City, especially the first one, is that it is just a translation of the book. They are not inventing anything new between them. And sometimes when you adapt a story, it means to change. That's actually what that means, is to change. And if you're too close to it, you're unwilling to change it. And I think sometimes they look for outside perspectives to just add a little curve on the ball.
How was the executive class these days? People you had to sit across from.
Younger than I am. But then again, everybody's younger than I am, so that's fine. Because I'm 78 years old, you guys.
You look good.
I look good. I remember when we got color television. But yeah, they were cool and enthusiastic, and they loved the material and they were eager to get it made.
Is there a current stereotype for a studio exec? Like back in the days, they were hollow and stuff.
Nah, these guys. We're in a weird space where the people now, not running studios, but like in the upper echelons of it, are nerds. They grew up like we did. They're about our age, if not a little younger. So they're Star Wars kids and Star Trek kids. They read comic books. Like, they understand why we're in this glorious halcyon age of nerd entertainment. Like, they get it. They're in many ways responsible for it. But they didn't like what I had to say about their comic book. So I didn't get the job, but that's okay.
You didn't get the job. They didn't hear you suck their dicks like you just did right here.
I know.
Oh my God, I would have given you the job.
You're a handsome young man. From very good parentage, I'm sure.
How do you know you didn't get the job? They just said, we're going a different direction.
A couple days later, like my agents called them and was like, so how'd it go? It's like, no, we loved him. He was great, but we're going in a different way, which is the way that they say no.
Right.
No, we decided to pursue other options.
Worthwhile to go through the process.
Totally. Just to get those miles on the odometer, just to say that I did it, to know how it goes, to know what it feels like.
And it seems like I guess that's the game. Like I went in and pitched on things. So I guess I have done that, but I haven't done it at a feature level in a while. I did it with Superman a long time ago. Went in and wound up kind of going, this is what I do and stuff. But I did it for Sam and Twitch, the pitch that we're still waiting to hear if that becomes a BBC America show or not. I did it I went in on last year, a year and a half ago. I went into Warner Brothers Animation because they wanted to do something with Plastic Man. And they're like, you know anything about Plastic Man? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I know he turns into a ball a lot. So
Because they're easy to draw.
I guess. So I went in and talked about what I do and wound up writing a script that I don't think went anywhere and stuff. I was happy with it. But, and then what was the other one? Oh, Buckaroo Banzai. When I went in and was just like, this is what I do with it, I guess. But, it's weird, man. Even you're very gracious about like, oh, they're people just like us and whatnot, about the execs. But it's weird to go in and I guess because of the podcasts and because of like just the way I work, it's weird to sit down and ask somebody, can I be creative for money? You know what I'm saying? Like it feels weird. So I just try to figure out ways to do it myself and then hope they come to me and ask.
Right. I mean, it's at least for me, where I am in my career, it's a lot of 87 irons and 87 fires, and if one of them happens to be spend a week coming up with a movie based on this comic book, all right, that's cool. Didn't work out. That's okay. There's 86 other irons, and maybe one of them, most of them are shit that I've come up with, that I've created, that I'm personally invested in. But sometimes, fuck it. All right, I'll play in your toy box.
Was that a product of living out in LA? Like, would you have had that meeting if you were still living back east?
I don't think so.
I
don't think so. I think it was, can you go over there on like Thursday? And this was a Monday. Like, yeah, I can do that.
So ultimately, it's all part of the plan.
You got to be here. You got to be in it to win it.
Oh my God, did you guys get the reference? It was pretty nice.
Yeah,
I just rewatched that on a plane. Me and Marc did for Christmas, for the holidays, a commentary track for Batman Begins for the Fat Man Batman podcast, the audio version. So people were very happy, and so I started watching Dark Knight to get ready for the next round and stuff. And I was on a plane for a 4-hour flight, so they offered it as a choice, Dark Knight. So I said, I'm gonna kick back. I haven't seen this in a little while. It's gonna be hard to do a commentary track because so much of the movie you're just kind of staring, going like, "Fuck,
this is really good."
Yeah, like this is unbelievably breathtaking. Like, fuck, how did they do that? Fuck, like it's so wonderful. It's a high fucking bar that like other comic book movies are still aiming for at this point. I mean, certainly not saying like Marvel hasn't hit that bar, but fuck, it's pretty astounding.
Yeah, I feel like the Dark Knight commentary will be a lot like Arnold Schwarzenegger's commentary for Conan the Barbarian. You guys ever listen to that? Where he's literally just like, so here's why I chopped the snake. He just narrates shit that happens on screen. Sandal Bergman was very attractive.
Oh my
just
God.
silent for like 5 minutes.
Batman's getting a new helmet. That was the part of the movie I got really hung up on, man. I was like, it took motherfuckers this long to be like, let's just make it a helmet so it can go like that. Nope. Like all those years, Michael Keaton had to be like, come on. And even in fucking the start of The Dark Knight, where he's like fighting the Scarecrow and those dudes in that garage and shit, like at one point he has to look back and he had to do my whole body twists like an action figure and then fucking back. So it was kind of dope that there was a moment where he goes to Lucius, can you fucking fix this?
Do you see this shit? Have you, like, I can't see anything behind me.
And they also like set it up, like, because that's your first sequence of seeing him in The Dark Knight is when he appears and fucks up the drug deal. Then you don't see him be Batman again. I mean, you know, he's maybe on the rooftop or something, but you don't see him back in action until he's in China. And he's about to jump off the building and then bust in and steal that dude. So they show him like putting on the helmet and you don't quite get, when you're in a far shot, that is the new cowl. And then they get in close and you're like, oh fuck, man. Like that.
Duh.
Yeah, they stole it from Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Like, because that's what he had, was kind of a separate helmet piece as opposed to this connected thing. It looks fucking dope, and then he puts it on and then fucking spreads the wings, which I noticed they did that in the first two movies. It was like Chris Nolan was in love with the idea of like, he's called Batman, let's have him spread out his bat wings. And so in Batman Begins, he's always fucking flying around like at the end of the movie and shit. And then in this movie, like as if people were like, hey man, don't fucking do the flying thing anymore. He ain't fucking Superman. Chris Nolan was like, go fuck yourselves. And he threw in a bigger sequence where he's like, he's gonna fly even further in China, you know. But I haven't rewatched it yet, but I don't think, did they do a Batman flies in Batman in The Dark Knight Rises? Did he ever pop his wings and fly?
I don't know. Like half the time
He was too busy getting his back broken.
Yeah, and getting his knee brace on. I don't think he does much flying. Lots of limping and hobbling.
So I guess by the third movie, he's just like, I'm not doubling down on this
It's
Batman flying shit.
We've done so much flying.
Yeah,
I don't know,
he's
we
like,
need to do more flying.
I've done that. Let's have him handle a nuclear bomb.
We'll have him do a little bit of rock climbing.
All right, so we'll get to that eventually. But I guess we're done with our chit chat at the top.
We can be.
Shall we, do you have more to say about the studio system? You're like, they're tasty. I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
I have nothing else to say. I saw your face last night in my bedroom as I was.
Oh my God, turn the lights down. I want to hear this story. Sometimes I see her face in my bedroom too. Tell my wife, I'm like, pretend I'm Bernardin. Yeah. She's like, if I'm going to pretend you're anybody else, it's not going to be the other guy on Fat Man on Batman.
I was watching a screener of The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, I'm in that little piece.
Yeah. And my wife's like, did you know Kevin was in this? Like, he doesn't tell me everything he does.
My kid came home from the movie. She's like, I went to see The Disaster Artist, and you're in it. She's like, what don't you do? I was, Seth, Franco reached out with an email at one point. He's like, hey man, you know anything about The Room? I said, yeah. I said, can you come chat about it? We're going to throw it in like a little montagey thing at the beginning of this movie we're doing. And it like went over, it wasn't even far from where I lived. It was there for like a half hour and completely spaced until I saw the trailer. Then I even forgot about me being in it and shit. And I was just like, oh my God, this looks fucking dope. And so, yeah, when it came out, I forgot. It's nice to be involved with something that people like for a change. I didn't know how to deal with that. I was. You watching more screeners?
Yeah, man, I've been strapping in.
I like The Disaster Artist, man.
It was a lot of fun.
And he was fucking pitch perfect. Like, he just won a Golden Globe, Franco, for playing that role. I agree with that completely. Like, he was really great in that film.
And I have never seen The Room.
No?
So, no, never, ever. What?
It's crazy. Well, all right, so wait. You've never seen it. Movie still works.
Movie totally still works. Movie totally still works.
They kind of give you everything you need.
Yeah, and it's a lovely story.
And if you like making movies, it's a movie about making movies.
Right. Making movies badly.
Well, story of my life. What else did you watch? I watched Coco.
Did you?
Oh, fuck. Mark put it on his top 10 list. And that made me go, fuck, I'm going to watch this now. And what an emotional fucking experience that is. It made me sad that I didn't grow up Mexican. I was like, oh my God, how beautiful. Like, everything about this is beautiful and shit. Wonderful story. I couldn't, like, honestly, bawling throughout, like, and really richly invested and incredibly fucking imaginative. Like, just grade A Pixar. Loved it. Absolutely fucking loved it. Forced my wife to watch it. My wife's like, I don't really want to watch this cartoon. And I was like, come on, man. I was like, this is all I want for Christmas. Watch Coco. And I'd already asked for a Christmas blowjob, so this was all a lie. I was like, this is all I want. And so she finally watched it with me. And she, too, was all like I lay on the bed, watch a movie. She sits on a couch that's like a few feet away. And periodically, like something wonderful happens or something emotional. And I will look over like an 80-year-old woman. I get like the vapors. I go and look over at her, and she either laughs at me, not derisively, but oh, Kevin, you're such a pussy, or looks back and is just like she too is grabbed. And there were a bunch of moments where she too is clutching her chest, breathtaking. It's wonderful storytelling.
I saw the 1-2 punch of Darkest Hour.
Where Gary Oldman screams the whole movie.
Pretty much. Or more like it goes like this.
Yeah.
That and Dunkirk, which
it's a good double feature, man.
very good double feature, because Darkest Hour is all about the things that lead up to the retreat in Dunkirk.
I did them in reverse, though. I watched Dunkirk, and then I watched the other thing. So when they started talking about Dunkirk, I was like, oh, I know what that is.
It all comes out okay.
Dunkirk was wonderful. I hadn't seen it when it was in theaters. I love the structure of it. Breathtaking filmmaking. I got to find a different word, but it's really fantastic. But there's no emotional,
Yeah, Nolan's not great at that.
Really?
He's great at a lot of things. He's not great at human emotion about things. And if you watch any of his movies, they're all very kind of antiseptic and sterile almost. And I just don't know if that's a gear that he has or cares to get. It's like, fuck it, I make beautiful things. They don't all have to make you cry.
Yeah, and the thing that should is the kid on the boat, and that's the closest thing where you feel to oh my goodness. But in terms of filmmaking though, it's I don't want to say breathtaking again. It's
astonishing,
it's splendid. It was astonishing, and really took me into a story where I didn't see it when it was out. It just didn't really pique my fancy, but I was sucked in within the first 10 minutes. I was like, wow, Tom Hardy's in it, and he wears a fucking Bane mask the whole movie. So I was treated like a sequel to The Dark Knight Rises, man. I was like, oh shit, this is what happens to Bane. He's like, I've jumped through time to fight the war. In this movie, I'm the hero. And I won't take 8 years off like a little baby. It was good. I saw that. What else did I see? Did you see The Killing of a Sacred Deer?
No.
Fuck. This movie, one of the most astonishing flicks I've seen all year. It's what's the word, man? It is off-putting, but in the best way. Keeps you off balance. By the guy that made The Lobster.
Yeah, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Never saw it. Now I desperately want to watch everything he does, because this movie was next level shit. It's a revenge story, but you don't know what the fuck's going on for the first 20, 30 minutes, maybe more. Really trust that the audience will catch up. Doesn't spoon feed you info. And it is so, I don't know, it homages The Shining in terms of its look, the symmetrical photography, the sound design, the score. It's not a blood and gore horror thriller, but it is one of the most unsettling films I've ever seen in my life. And there's one, I don't want to go into detail. I can't tell you anything more because it would ruin the trip. But it's got, what's his name? Bullseye.
Farrell.
Colin Farrell's in it. Nicole Kidman's in it. And this guy who was in Dunkirk, who was the kid on the boat, who I don't want to say anything more in case you didn't see the movie. He plays the boy in this movie. He's so fucking good. And the movie's dark as shit, man. It's just so, it's a mind fuck. It's worth your time. It's on iTunes. Track it down. There's so many things I want to say about it. There's this one fucking scene that blew my mind, which was a dialogue scene that I'd never, I want to talk about it. Should I talk about it or does it spoil it? Yeah. What is it? Killing of a Sacred Deer.
So don't spoil it then.
So don't spoil it. All right. I know, but I wanted to tell the story. It's fucking good. Next time. Yeah. See it. Fucking watch it. There's a moment where Colin Farrell has a discussion with his son, his young son in the movie. That's I say this as the guy that made the Walrus movie. Is one of the weirdest fucking things I've ever seen in a movie in my life.
Well, okay, here's what we'll do. Everybody come back next Tuesday and we'll talk about Killing of a Sacred Deer.
There you go. Smart. We got another show on Tuesday. Tickets at csmod.com. What else have you seen?
I saw The Post.
Yeah, I like that.
I cried like a fucking baby at the end of The Post.
Did you?
I really did, because rarely does one get to see journalists as heroes. I, having been a recovered journalist, was like, oh shit, we're the heroes of this? And the big fucking climax of the movie is the reading of a Supreme Court ruling saying that the press exists to benefit the governed and not the governors, and then watching the news and like, holy shit, this is the most timely movie I've ever seen, and just bawling like a kid in a printing press.
And if you're like,
have you never cried standing in front of a printing press? So much news! Look at all the news, Mother!
I thought you meant the kid got sucked up into the printing press. I was
If
like,
it
there'd
bleeds,
be one
it
quick cry
bleeds.
of like, ah, and then that's it.
And then in the pages, it's just, ah!
I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. If you're a big Mr. Show fan, it's the movie for you. Because both Bob and David are in it. It was, I don't know if I think I talked about it here. Lines up perfectly. The end lines up perfectly with the beginning of All the President's Men. You could almost watch it as one long double feature about the Washington Post. What else did you see?
I saw Lady Bird.
How is it?
I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay.
Primarily because I've never been a teenage girl in Sacramento. Which apparently is kind of awesome, but not my personal experience. I can appreciate it.
Right.
That's the joy of cinema, which is, hey, look, I can step into somebody else's life for a little bit and see what that must be like. But it's not. It did not do for me what, say, The Disaster Artist did for me.
Right.
Which is take me on a fucking trip and a journey and highs and lows and all the above.
Oh my God. Mark's favorite movie of the year was
Logan.
Oh, that was. Well, you had on your list Shape of Water.
Yes.
I think that's my favorite movie of the year. I saw that as well. I didn't go to see it. I saw it at home on a screener, and I threw my money in via online. Whenever I watch one of my screeners, Oscar screeners, I buy a ticket like at the ArcLight just so they could be, just so nobody could be like, you don't fucking support your industry. I'm like, I do. I just don't want to support it by being there.
I won't stop the car for pizza.
They don't need me. They don't need me for this. So I watched Shape of Water. Beautiful. I mean, he won a directing Golden Globe last night, Guillermo del Toro. Such a beautiful movie. If you're a big Hellboy fan, though, it's kind of like Abe Sapien the movie. But you know, even like whether you know his body of work via Hellboy or not, you can't deny just stunning, beautiful, haunting, romantic piece of cinema, pure cinema, including a black and white dance number with the guy in the fucking suit. And it sounds stupid, but it's one of the most electric things you'll see in a movie all year. Oh my God, it was so fucking wonderful.
Yeah, I love it to death.
Yeah.
And I love Guillermo to death. Like he loves monsters in a way that I don't love anything, including my children. You know, and they're great. I mean, whatever, they'll grow up and take care of me at some point, but Guillermo's just fidelity towards monsters and his affinity towards the misshapen and the cast aside and the marginalized.
Right.
And the fact that he tells a love story about it that betrays his love for the monsters as well. And it's there's so much texture there. I can't get enough of that movie.
All right. Let's dive into the fucking news.
We got some
Blowing
news.
everybody else. Let's talk about what's happening in our industry.
You know what movie dropped on the Netflix a week and a half ago or so? Bright. Did you see the Bright?
I did watch Bright.
Did
I before I watched it, I'll be honest, like I was prompted to watch it by all the online vitriol. A lot of people being like, "What the fuck? Fuck this, Bright my dick," and like just people going off on it and whatnot. And I was like, "Well, now I gotta watch it." And I like David's stuff. I was public about liking Suicide Squad. So, you know, I didn't think it would be a terrible slog. He certainly knows how to make a movie. Yeah. Looked a bit like Training Day meets Alien Nation. Mm-hmm. So I got up one morning and I didn't have anything creative to do on my own front. So I was like, fuck it, I'll watch it. And I had a great time.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Like, I'll be honest with you. I loved how they fetishized the magic wand. Like, I just thought it was cool. He's like, it's like everyone was so fucking pissed scared of it. They're like, this is like a nuclear bomb that grants wishes. I thought that was a cool fucking line. I thought, I'm not a big Tolkien guy. I'm not. Here's my big question though. I like the movie. I thought it was totally watchable. Orcs, didn't Tolkien create orcs? Why? Orcs existed pre-Tolkien?
I mean,
Who invented the orcs then?
I feel like there's some like fairy tale version of that thing, like orc / trolls /
It's like another word for troll.
Golems I think I feel like it's been around before Tolkien.
That was the one thing I kept watching it, going like, isn't that a Tolkien thing? It sounds. Yes, apparently, apparently it's not. But in any event, I enjoyed it. Did you watch it yet?
I did watch it.
And
yes.
what did you think?
I think it's kind of nightmarishly bad. That's just me.
Oh, nightmarishly bad?
Yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan of the Bright. Because I live for world building. I live for the, hey, here's the thing. Let's tweak something just so it's a little bit different, and then figure out how that manifests in the rest of the world. So in this world, it's, oh yeah, so now there's orcs here, right? And they're the lowest on the totem pole socially. They had betrayed the fealty to the Dark Lord 2,000 years ago and have been hated ever since. And so now we got our first. Basically, it's a shoddy attempt at dealing race into fantasy by making the orcs the black people. But then you also have black people.
I didn't even fucking see that.
Nah.
Honestly, didn't. Like, I'm such. I mean,
Joel
to be
Edgerton
fair, I watch
like,
most things like. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, Joel Edgerton is the Jackie Robinson of police, where he's like, he's the first guy on the force. He's gonna be our token orc on the force. Fairy lives don't matter.
It's all becoming clear now, man. All I kept saying was like, oh, it's training day with orcs.
Yeah.
But I guess it is kind of about race at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that the elves are rich and probably Jewish, I think, is kind of what the movie made it out to be, but a little bit unclear.
I gotta start watching movies with you. I didn't see that at all, I guess. Wow, that does work.
But it's like if you're gonna make the orcs the lowest on the totem pole socially, then clearly the orcs would have been the slave class, right? And so then if the orcs are the slave class, then you don't get Compton looking the way Compton looks now. You don't get black gangs the way that you have them, because that stuff is born out of Jim Crow. It's born out of societal and financial disenfranchisement, and that's why you get pockets of ghettos. If there's orc ghettos, there also shouldn't be these other ghettos. Like, why are there Mexican street gangs when this is the world you live in? Why is it still like Los Angeles? Why isn't it some fucking orc name? Like, what it's the kind of like, we're painting it with magic dust, but never actually getting under the structure of it.
So they could have, instead of doing Los Angeles, set it on the other side of the country, called it New York. I'm available for Bright 2, ladies and gentlemen.
But here's the thing. They're making a Bright 2.
Yes, they've announced they are making a Bright 2.
Right, that's the news. What?
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah.
She's happy.
No, I'm not.
Unhappy.
Take that back.
That sounded like I'm so pleased.
I'm astonished.
Yeah, they're doing it again. Well,
a good
they've
word.
invested a lot of money in this.
They spent a shit ton of money.
$90 million to make it.
Yeah.
And they said that it did 11. They had 11 million views in the first 3 days.
It is the most watched movie that has ever been on that service. I don't know how it ranks next to Stranger Things.
Even if you do the math, though, 11 million in the first 3 days, times that by $10 a ticket to go see it in the movie theater, you're opening $100 million.
Yeah.
Like, they've cracked the code of that as well, and without spending, mind you, marketing dollars. That's the thing. The studio makes that movie, they spend $90 million to make it, probably more. Then they spend another 50, 75 just to sell it. Netflix, they don't do that. They maybe take a billboard out or two, but they don't spend on marketing.
They did a bit on this one, because I remember seeing during like football playoff games.
They had commercials on
They had
TV?
network commercials for this in the middle of like huge fucking buys. So
Fuck me in the mouth.
Okay, if you must. But yeah, they're making a sequel. The entire team is back, save Max Landis, who wrote the original screenplay and put together the package himself.
And the original screenplay sold for like $4 million.
Yeah.
It was a what do they call those? Spec.
A spec deal thing, whatever. But he has been kicked to the curb. David Ayer will write and direct the second one himself.
And he did that on Suicide Squad, didn't he?
He did, I think.
And Will Smith's coming back, and Joel Edgerton's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, the whole gang's back.
It's.
Again.
I mean, honestly, like my wife's like, because she said something about it. What did you do this morning? I said, I got high and watched Bright. And she goes, you used to be ambitious. I was like, well. And so she said,
it's not a TV show; it's a movie.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I was in and out. So she said, "What did you think?" And I said, like, if for something that I watched for free on Netflix, I enjoyed myself. And she goes, "You don't. It's not free. You pay for it." So I did the math of how much I watched Netflix versus what we pay, and how many people across the household pay for it. So I probably paid about 80 cents to watch Bright. It was so fucking worth 80 cents.
I concur.
All right, so Bright 2 is happening, whether
Bright 2
people
is
want it or
happening.
not.
Indeed. And clearly lots of people want it. So good for you people.
And also, they don't forget Netflix is like universal, so it's not just like people here. A lot of their streams they said they had overseas and did very well over there.
Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, there's
Oh my God, there's the future right there.
Yeah.
Netflix. I mean, think about it. If they crack the code of major releases like that, that's one more place to go to for huge blockbuster budgeted movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they got Sabrina now.
Yeah, which they just cast.
Yeah,
Kiernan Shipka who's
from
on Mad Men.
Mad Men, Sally Draper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it. Like they knew from their algorithm that Riverdale kills for them.
Yeah.
So they're like, why let CW do Sabrina? We can pay more money and we don't have to wait for the fucking show. Bam. So now they're figuring out how to do TV better than TV. It looks like they're figuring out how to do blockbuster movies. Maybe not better, but as good as some major studios and stuff. It's a moment in time where we might look back a few years from now, oddly enough, and be like, wow, Bright was the moment. It was a game changer.
Speaking of Netflix, there's a rumor going around Wall Street that Apple might buy Netflix. Because here's the thing. Apple makes most of their money internationally. Like they do pretty well domestically, but they have factories, they have sales organs, they have entire machineries of industry that take place overseas. Mm-hmm. And due to current tax law, all of that money needs to stay overseas. You can't just bring $250 billion back into the U.S. economy for reasons that escape me, but you just can't do that.
Yeah, I was going to be like, why not?
Yeah. President Trump has decided, why not? Let's let them do that. Let's drop the tax restrictions and allow them to repatriate a one-time giant fucking bale of money. So Apple will have about $270 billion that they didn't have before. And
it's like I had to sit there and be like, 270 billion.
Yeah. And so if Fox will sell... For what was the Fox deal? $60 billion Disney paid for Fox. Then Apple has $270 billion that they almost didn't even count on having, like spare change now.
Could you imagine being like, look what I fucking found? All the money in the world.
So there was talk that in order for them to immediately come into owning and running their own internet studio, they would just buy Netflix.
Good or bad?
I mean, there is no math for whether this is good or bad because this exists on a level that nobody's ever thought about before. It's probably bad because things you've never thought about before are almost always bad. I mean, that's what happens.
Don't scare everybody like that.
That's what happens.
That's a real weird blanket statement, man.
That's half of what science is, just like figuring out shit and ways that it'll kill you. We invented this. How will it go bad? Oh, right. Yes. Fuck. Yeah, Velcro sounded like a good idea. I'm just saying.
Are you knowing something that we don't?
I can't say. Security clearances and shit.
Velcro, stay away from it.
Hey, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Change out those old unicorn wallets right now. So yeah, it is. Who knows if it'll happen? It might never happen. But the idea of a giant megalithic company which brings you phones and then shit to watch on your phones all at once is kind of insane.
We're moving ever closer to what they described in Network, one omni entertainment system.
Yep.
What else we got?
DC Films, which is had a somewhat spotty run in theaters, has a new boss.
I saw this, but I didn't read the article. There was a shakeup, as they say, at Warner Brothers.
There was a shakeup at Warner
Is
Brothers.
this a Justice League related shakeup?
Most definitely.
People getting punished?
People getting punished. People getting reassigned. This
is that moment in Goodfellas where they start finding all the bodies and shit like that? While they're playing fucking Eric Clapton.
Yeah, this is the Layla moment. A guy named Walter Hamada, who was one of the executives at Warner Brothers who oversaw It this year, and Insidious franchise. He's been kind of their horror genre guy for a while.
Okay.
Is now taking over DC Films. And I think his new job is to decide precisely how to move forward from here. They only have one film definitely on the schedule, which is Aquaman in December.
That's what they have this year?
That's all they have this year.
Marvel has Black Panther.
They have Black Panther,
Avengers.
They have Avengers, and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That's coming out in 2018.
That's coming out in
well?
August, yeah.
So when's Avengers come out? May?
May 5th.
Oh my God, like 3 months after the Avengers, they're like, here's another, look at our fucking dick again.
Every 3 months, you get the giant dick of
That
Marvel.
is fucking crazy, man. And meanwhile, DC's like, the fish story's coming. We're all going to talk in underwater bubbles. I look forward to that. But really, it feels like the plan was to have a Batman movie right about now.
The plan was for a Batman movie. The plan was also a Flash movie, I think was supposed to have happened by now. And I think that this guy, Walter Yamato, was also helping oversee Shazam. So he'd been working with Jeff Johns and making that come off, and that's supposed to start shooting by the end of this year.
With the guy who did Annabelle Creation.
Right. So yeah, DC's in a bit of flux, but at least they're promoting dudes to hopefully write a ship.
Who went? Do you know who got fired?
John Berg, who was the co-head of DC Films, was given a production deal, which is how you get fired in Hollywood, which is they just let you produce movies but don't decide which movies to produce.
Is Jeff still in the mix?
Jeff is still in the mix, as far as I can tell.
Sue Kroll?
She just got a production deal at Warner Brothers. She's no longer the head of marketing. She is now just going to be a producer on the lot.
Yeah, heads rolled.
Heads rolled as we knew they would.
Well, with a new, with someone new in charge, maybe there'll be a vision that we'll hear about soon, and they'll look. They know they've got something. They may have just Aquaman this year, but they have Gold and Wonder Woman, and they know they're going to do Wonder Woman too. And Patty Jenkins is doing it and stuff. So that's something to build on. It smells like they might go back to like, hey man, we just make standalone movies. We don't feel the need to connect them.
I mean, that to a certain degree, that always kind of should have been their model. You know, like Marvel came out of the gun so fucking fast, and they built their universe, and they put in the work. And Warner Brothers wanted to shotgun a universe into existence without doing the work. And maybe that's just not their play. Maybe they need to zig while everybody else zags, as opposed to keep zigging. Which is the name of my new reggae rap album.
Justice League should be coming out any minute, right?
Should be. I think so.
Very soon, yeah.
Yeah,
I
next
saw a
month or so.
cover for the Blu-ray, and it's the Whedon version with extra Whedon footage, I believe. Not close to the Zack Snyder version. I saw when I was in Florida, somebody had tweeted a picture of a bunch of cosplayers in front of Warner Brothers holding up a sign that said, "Release the Snyder version." That was the hashtag.
Yeah, I saw James Gunn had retweeted a thing where somebody was like, "Hey man, would you donate to this petition and chip in some funds so we can convince Warner Brothers to release the Snyder version?" And he was like, "Warner Brothers is not my favorite charity. I will instead, for every retweet of this, donate $1 to the World Wildlife Fund or something like that." But it's like, if Warner Brothers wants to put it out, they don't need our money. Yeah. They don't need petitions. They will just do it. And they will do it at some point because they like making money, just not first.
It'd be amazing. You got a call tomorrow like, "This is Warner Brothers marketing. We need you.
Help. We were going to do this first."
All right, what do you got next?
Our favorite French director, Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve.
Again, this... I know, you're so excited or astonished. This one's a good... was a good one, okay.
Is he French or is he Canadian?
I think he's French-Canadian.
Yeah. Good save.
Thanks. I'm splitting the needle on that one.
Yes.
He turned down James Bond.
Oh.
They had offered him Bond 25, and he turned it down to make Dune.
Right on. Well, yeah. I mean, I interviewed him on on the boat for IMDb last summer at Comic-Con, and he deeply in love with Dune. He loves Lynch's version, but he's like, there's a version of that hasn't been made yet, and I love that book, and blah, blah, blah. So good. He gets to make his passion project rather than like hey, well, he's talented. Let's put him on Bond or something like that.
And he said, hey, I would love to do it. I think, Daniel Craig's amazing, and I love Bond. I always have, but I'm invested in Dune at this point. And given what he did, I was not the biggest fan of Blade Runner 2049.
I still haven't watched it. I have to do that very soon. Somebody almost got me to watch it recently because I was like,
did they
don't
hide the
spoil
weed
it.
in it?
Did they what?
Did they hide the weed in the case? Like, no, man, open it up. I swear, there's amazing pot right here.
I said, without spoiling it, tell me if Rachel is in the movie. And the person's like, that would spoil it. And I said, all right, now I'll watch it. So I got to still watch it.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's astonishing to look at. It's like he's a stylist, a rare stylist at best. Like, it looks better than Ridley's Blade Runner looks. And that's saying something.
That's as Deacon shot it, right?
Yeah.
This is probably, there's, I don't know. I don't know what the competition is this year, but, Deakins is the guy he's a master. Every DP looks up to him. And he still hasn't won one of these dopey trophies and stuff. It was one year he was nominated against himself, and he couldn't fucking win. So hopefully this is the year, maybe, even if Blade Runner 2049, is that what it was, 2049? Didn't do as well as people hoped. Hopefully they'll recognize the artistry, give that man a trophy for the first time.
He's the Sam Jackson of cinematographers.
Or the Susan Lucci, if you will.
She
went a lot longer.
True, but he's a lot cooler.
Very true. All right, so good for him. He's got artistic
and just the
integrity.
fucking passion, and I would kill. I saw Dune again over the break because it was on fucking Cinemax or
David
whatever.
Lynch's?
Yes, we've talked.
All
about
I see is an Atreides I want to kill.
What else we got? Ridley Scott wants to make a young Merlin movie. How do we? I'm a little bit done with the, that hero you really love. Here's how he was before he did any of the shit that's awesome.
As long as they don't Guy Ritchie King Arthur it, man, that's fine. That was a little too modern, but yeah, wasn't there a Merlin TV show?
I guess. Sure.
Ridley Scott. Come on, give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll watch anything that he does. I watched All the Money in the World.
Yeah, how was it?
Really enjoyable. In a weird way, because it's about a kidnapping where a kid gets his ear cut off. Spoilers. But hey, man, it's history.
And then his dad built a museum.
Yeah, apparently everybody knew this story except me. But it was what's insane about the movie is when you watch it, it used to have Kevin Spacey in it, and they announced, hey, we're going to replace Kevin Spacey with Chris Plummer. I thought they would do it digitally. I thought maybe he was in a couple scenes. It's like Michelle Williams and then Chris Plummer. That character is in most of the movie. So they reshot a fuck ton of that picture in a big bad way. Then I just read an article right before I came here that in order to do the reshoots, everybody came back. Ridley Scott was and they all came back for nothing. Meaning they came back, everyone involved, think about it. Marky Mark, he's always working and shit. Michelle Williams, she's always fucking working. It wasn't just as easy as we need Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. They're not busy. Let's get them. These people went on to other things. So to get them to all come back and reshoot is a fucking Herculean effort. And it just outed today that Marky Mark's people, WME, were able to negotiate money for him to come back for the reshoot. They reshot for 9 days. So I guess they paid him, I just read the article, $1.4 million to come back for those days, which is fine. Shows that Marky Mark has some smart agents. They're like, hey man, they need you. Let's squeeze them, and they got another $1.4 million out of him. Michelle Williams' agents didn't get that deal for her, so she went back for 9 days and was paid $1,000. So the day after the Golden Globes and Time's Up and all that, it just outed that she got 1% of whatever his salary was for that 9 days of work. The PS to the story is Michelle Williams, also represented by William Morris Endeavor. Oh. Yeah, so the story's not great right there. And she is the movie. I know he's Marky Mark and he's got a funky bunch behind him, but but she is the movie. Her performance is is crazy. Is that when you think about this is the girl from Dawson's Creek. She she's an incredibly insane, legitimate actress. I know she's been Oscar nominated and shit.
She won.
Did she?
Yeah. Didn't she? Did she not win for whatchamacallit?
For the Marilyn Monroe
Manchester
thing?
by the Sea.
She didn't win for that.
She didn't win
I
for
thought
that?
maybe she would won maybe for Maryland, but no. I don't think she's won yet.
No?
But she's fucking so good in this movie. And you forget that she disappears into a different role. Sounds like somebody else. So the movie is definitely worth watching. I was watching as a filmmaker going like, this seemed like a lot of fucking work. But apparently, since they had made the movie and they were just about to lock it when the Kevin Spacey thing happened, like Ridley Scott said, it wasn't that difficult. They were able to reshoot that much material in 9 days because they had shot it already once. So he's like, we had the blueprint. We knew exactly where to put the cameras. We knew exactly what we were going for. And it was very fast. It was expedient. But it's worth seeing that flick.
That is a hell of a wage gap.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, if I'm like, who was the studio that did that? I forget.
Sony, I think.
I would be sending her a check like for double that amount just to be like, oops. You know.
We fucked up.
Just because the story the next day, wouldn't be like, oh my God, that wage gap salary.
And then she fires her agents because she totally should fire her agents.
Yeah, I mean, like I hate to be that guy, but like they're all under one roof. Shouldn't they be looking out for each other? We'll stay away from that. Who's your agency?
I am currently unrepresented by agents. I have a manager.
I'm at William Morris Endeavor. In any event, let's go to our next story.
Our next story is our last story. There was a cartoon on the air in the early 90s, mid 90s, the Animaniacs. Do you remember that?
We're Animaniacs.
Yakko's cute and Wacko wax.
The rain in Spainy goes down in Spainy.
There's a joke in that show that is the dirtiest thing I've ever seen in a cartoon, where they're looking for evidence of a crime, and Yakko says like, you should dust for prints, and then Dot says, I found Prince right here, and she's literally holding Prince, the artist currently known as Prince, and he goes, no, fingerprints, and she goes. Fucking amazing. In a kid's show 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that show is coming back. Hulu just gave let's see, what is this now? 2-season order for a revamped version produced by Amblin with Spielberg, Sam Register, and Warner Brothers Animation. And all of the all the previous Animaniacs episodes, including all the spin-offs, Pinky and the Brain, Pinky, Elmira and the Brain, all that shit, are now going to be on Hulu.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is here. I am all for the era of streaming because in an effort to get $9 more out of us per month or whatever, everyone's got to come up with the fucking gimmick that makes you go like, that's fucking worth it. And there is no fucking price that you'll not pay to drink from the fountain of youth. So a lot of this stuff is nostalgia driven, sentimentality driven, where I love this shit. They're like, we're doing it again. Remember what Loving Will and Grace? Not really. Here it is again. Remember The Office went off the air a couple years ago? It's coming fucking back. So the idea, like I'm in line for the Roseanne reboot, I can't wait. I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. So I'm all for it. The idea that each one of these companies is like, oh, the weight of their wallets is right through their heart. So if they love this thing, let's give them more of it. Years later, it'll make them feel young again. It'll make them seek this out because they were big fans and so forth and so on. So I'm all for it. The flip side of that, though, is it really is just going to become the snake eating the tail as like slowly everything we start watching stops being new and starts being like, remember this? We're doing it again. And it's an extension of shit we've been watching already, which is fine, but sooner or later we're going to run out of new shit. Yeah. Hopefully they keep making the new shit as well. But that being said, I'll be there paying for it because I'm like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. I love that cartoon. Take my fucking money. Yeah. So I'm part of the problem as well.
But it's also with kid stuff. There is a slight bit of.
But that ain't for kids. I mean,
it is.
It might be for kids, but they're not predicating it on like children will love this. They're like, we're going after the motherfucker who's like, I got a lot of bills and shit like that, and I hate my life and fucking, I just need an escape. They're bringing Animaniacs back. All right, I'm one more year to stay alive.
Uber Eats. I need 40 cheeseburgers.
They're like, there's surge pricing right now. It's going to cost you a lot of money. I'm all for it, man. That's phenomenal.
Yes, bring it.
I mean, what other cartoon? I mean, shit. If they're doing that, please bring back Tiny Toons as well. That was my jam. I love Tiny Toons so damn much. I used to record those. It used to run Tiny Toons, and then right after it was a Batman the Animated Series. So I would tape them while I worked at Quick Stop and RST. I'd run over to RST, set a VCR to record that whole hour, and then bring it next door, and then just catalog them before I start buying tapes.
See, that's the show I would want them to bring back. Batman the Animated Series. Like, why not?
Yeah, at
like
this
old
point.
school. All those fucking dudes are still alive.
They keep doing permutations of, they reinvent their DC properties in the animated world. Seems like every 2 years. They don't like to let them get stale or something. But I think you're right. It's like you've still got all the creative talent, and they're all willing to do it. Like, why not come back for
Conroy's still alive, Hamill's still alive, Deanie's still alive, Sam Register's still alive. All those dudes are still
Bruce
around.
Timm, of course.
Would kill to do it again. I would much rather watch another Batman the Animated Series, 30 episodes, than Scooby-Doo and the Batman the Brave and the Bold, which I'm sure is lovely if you're 8, but I want the real back.
I can't believe on one hand you're like, bring back Batman the Animated Series while shitting in the mouth of Scooby-Doo and meeting Batman, which is a big part of our cartoon heritage. Long before there was a Justice League, long before Super Friends rather, long before there was like Batman the Animated Series and so forth and so on. Like, all we had to look forward to were those Scooby-Doo guest spots with Batman and Robin, where you were like, please not Phyllis Diller this week. Please. Please let it be that one Batman and Robin episode, So I get it. I think that's kind of cool. And is it, when they say Brave and Bold, is it the Batman Brave and Bold version of Batman, the one that's got Diedrich Bader doing the voice? Then I'm on board. I loved his fucking take on Batman with the fist. What is it? The hammers of justice is what he called his fists. So I'm going to buy that shit. But yeah, you're right. Batman animated series, I'd be down for 100%.
All day, every day.
And they don't even have to wait for some streaming service. Like, that's weird. Hulu, Animaniacs is Warner Brothers property. Mm-hmm. So Hulu went to Warner Brothers and said, we want to do this?
Yeah,
or do you think Warner Brothers was like, we want to do this and went to Hulu?
We got it. Who'll pay for it? And Hulu was like, here's a check.
So weird that Warner Brothers is like, who'll pay for it? I'd be like, you fucking pay for it.
You're Warner Brothers.
Ask both of the Warner Brothers for some money. All right, we're done with the news?
We're done with the news.
That means we move into the section of the show, ladies and gentlemen, that involves you people. So we've got, do we have shit to give away? Oh my God, as per usual, man. Brett Deacon, our buddy from 40X, showed up and he gave us some tickets to give out. If you've not seen a movie in 40X, what the fuck is your problem? You might not be lucky enough to be in a city with a 40X theater, but it's got this chair that moves. Can you spread those out too, please? Moves.
Check Phantom like a casino?
Yeah, and do a wash. It's got a chair that moves. If it's snowing in the movie, it's snowing in the movie theater. If you saw The Last Jedi, when the crawl was happening, the chair went back as the crawl went up. It's a wonderful way to see a movie. We've got it here in Los Angeles. They've got it in Chicago. They got it in New York. It's spreading out. But the good folks at 40X give us tickets that we can give out to people that ask excellent questions. We get to be the judge of those questions as well. Questions have to be of a certain standard. You can't be like, hey man, when is Moose Jaws happening? Get off my dick. It's happening as soon as I get some money. It's believe it or not, tough to convince people to put in money for a movie that's Jaws with a moose instead of a shark. So some things take a little longer to build. Questions should be aimed at both of us and stuff, derive some good conversation and a good answer. But you do that and you get a set of these tickets, go see a 40X movie. So you got the microphone? JC, the proprietor of this here cantina. Give it up for JC, ladies and gentlemen. JC, will you put your hands in the air and JC will come over and bring a mic to you and we'll get going with this. Go ahead, take us there, JC.
There he is.
How you doing, guys?
How are you?
All right, 2 quick questions. One, is it possible for me and my buddy to get a picture with you and Mark?
No.
At the end of the show?
Bad question.
Yeah, that don't get tickets, and
And,
that's you can't ask 2 questions. You got it. You led with the fucking request. I just set up the fucking rules, man.
I had too
I
much
said it
blue
has
milk.
to be a good
I had
fucking
too much
question.
Blue milk. I apologize.
God damn it! All right, ask your real question.
Since I've been listening to Batman and Fat Man, I don't think you've ever explained how you and Mark got together to do this new variation of Fat Man and Batman. So how
Tinder.
was the process of you guys getting together and kind of hashing it out?
Yeah, I feel like we've told that story, but we'll get to tell it again. That's a decent enough question. Give it up for that question, ladies and gentlemen. I met Mark through work, obviously.
Yeah, through Entertainment Weekly.
Mark was working at EW. Mark's worked in a number of places. EW, LA Times was the job he just left fairly recently. Hollywood Reporter, Playboy, always writing about entertainment and stuff. And then recently Mark made the shift to like, I'm going to make entertainment instead of writing about it. So he's moved away from journalism, but it's a big part of who he is. That's how I met Mark. So I wound up talking to Mark for a number of things. But I've told the story before. Mark won my heart and loyalty when, as the guy working at Entertainment Weekly, he got to program a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, I want to say like 2007 or something
right.
like that. And it was, what was it called? Icons?
Visionaries.
Visionaries. And it was Zack Snyder, who undoubtedly is a visionary and was starting...
Yeah, they were in the...
Watchmen.
Right, Watchmen was just about to
He
come
had
out.
footage to show.
Right.
So you had Zack Snyder, like post 300, right before he entered the hero game. You had Frank Miller. You had Judd Apatow at the height of his Apatowist powers. And then one of these things was not like the other, and I was up there as well. And so, you know, Mark included me in that very, very cool panel with those very cool people. And he didn't have to. It was certainly not, I was certainly, by that point, 2007, I had no vision whatsoever, you know, just airy. So he had me up, and that was really, really fucking sweet. We've known each other now for years. One day he came over to the old incarnation of Fat Man and Batman. First incarnation was me sitting around interviewing people about their lives and how it led to the character of Batman. Did that a bunch. Then, what was the first one you did?
It was Dark Knight Returns, Part 1.
The cartoon.
commentary track, yeah.
So we did a commentary track for the cartoon.
Yeah.
So Mark came on, we had a good time, and then we started doing, I guess, well, the YouTube version happened when it was more pod than YouTube.
Yeah,
first,
we
right?
started with commentary tracks. So we did Dark Knight Returns Part 2, and then we did the Tim Burton Batmans.
Right.
And then it was like, these were fun. Let's keep doing commentary tracks. Let's do Gotham. I'm like, sure.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
how it started.
And we got like 5 episodes into Gotham. We're like, what if we didn't do Gotham? And just talked about nerd shit for a while.
Yes.
And,
Oh my God, season 1 of Gotham broke us.
Yeah.
To the point where we're like, let's talk about anything else.
What if it was just all utility belt? Let's
Yes.
just do that.
It started becoming like there was a section of the show called Utility Belt where we talked about things that weren't necessarily Batman. And the show became like a bulging utility belt. So then we started doing the YouTube version. And
You just
it
put
was
up
pretty
cameras in your office.
Yeah, that's at first.
And then you were like, hey, do you mind if we, these guys at Defy Media want to like spend some money on it? You want to do it over there? I said, sure. Hey, man, do you want to go on the road? Let's try this live? Like, yeah, man, all right, sure. Hey, this JC's got a bar. You want to do it? We just fucking set up shop at the bar. That'd be great. You want to do that? Yeah, man, sure. It's you saying, do you want to? And me going, yeah, man, sure.
That's our secret origin. Yeah, I've talked about it many times. I love what the show has organically grown into. And, you know, just recently I did an episode at home with Armin Kevorkian. The audio version of the show is generally this show, just turned into audio. But I did a sit down with him like a couple months back that we finally got to post. He's the guy that does King Shark on Flash, makes Supergirl fly on CW, the special effects director, coordinator. So, you know, there's still interview shows, and I do like those, but this is my favorite incarnation of Fat Man on Batman. And I see largely online that it seems to click with people as well. On my Twitter feed or, you know, on the YouTube feedback, it's people going, this is the version of the show I like. Like once you had an audience to talk to, like it made sense. And I saw somebody tweeted something this week where they were like, yeah, I like the show, but I'd like the one-on-one interviews because now it's become kind of like Hollywood Babylon 2. And I was like, oh, that's why I like it so much. Like, it reminds me of like fun, like, and it is cool. It's I have a good time doing it. So we've known each other for a while through work, and then kind of organically it grew to this. And it's, I mean, I know there's something in there, and I'm sure somebody could like shred me and criticize me by being like, he used to make pop culture, but now he just talks about pop culture. But long before I made pop culture, all I did was watch and talk about pop culture. So it's nice to be a fan. I love doing what I do and shit like that. But just because you get to make movies or make stuff, it doesn't mean you can't kick back and enjoy shit too. And what got me here, first and foremost, was being a fan of things to the point where I was like, ooh, I want to try it too. And that kicked open the doors of a career. But I'm very comfortable talking about other people's stuff. Generally, it's not in a critical way. You know, I can like make fun of things and whatnot. That's Mark's job, is to shit on things. But I love doing this show. Like I was sleeping 20 minutes before the show began. And my wife was like, get up, the show's about to happen. And I was so fucking tired, but as soon as she said the show, I was like, Fat Man, I'm Batman. And I got up and got dressed. And almost
The beacons are lit.
Totally. And got here fast and off we went. So I love doing the show with Mark. And I look forward to it. And our friendship and knowing each other shaped this into what it's become, which is one of the things I most look forward to doing, like every week. All right, you get tickets.
You get tickets.
You get to go to the movies. Well done. Where are we going next, JC?
We got Thor.
Oh shit!
What's up, guys?
How are
Hey.
you?
I'm good. So my question was two-parter, real quick.
Okay.
Do you think they should, and will they, bring back Mark Hamill for episode 9 as a Force Ghost?
What's the second part? Should they, will they?
Should they and will they?
Okay. Yes and yes. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a foregone conclusion to me that
He literally said, "See you around, kid." And I know that was a reference to like Han Solo in Star Wars, but you know, he let us know he'll be back. And those Jedis, they never fucking die. They just fade away and become Force ghosts. So he'll be back for sure. Should they? Yes, absolutely. We need to get as much Mark out of Mark as we can in those Star Wars movies. So if he becomes the de facto Ben Kenobi who just like pops up in every fucking movie going, you should really think about this. And they're like, Luke Skywalker. That'd be fantastic. I've now, like the internet, you know, when I talked about the flick, you need to come up. You're
well, I
falling out of
was
your life.
trying to let you Thor have an eye line.
Totally, but we got the cameras, unfortunately. A lot of people on the internet have really like not turned me around, but like backed up the whole why Luke shouldn't be on Crate, like physically. Spoilers: if you haven't seen The Last Jedi yet, get the fuck out of this bar. But that being said, like, you know, first viewing, I saw the movie. I wasn't like critical about it. I just accepted it all and was like having a fucking blast and shit. One of the best times I had in a movie theater this year. Second time, I started pulling at the strings, and my second viewing at the end of it, you know, I was like, well, I get it. I get the whole he's not really there, but why couldn't he have been there? And we've talked about this, and like ultimately, everyone has great reasons, but like, yeah, but you know, all he really had to do to be there was Rian Johnson write he was there, you know, because that's it. He's only as powerful or not powerful as Rian Johnson makes him. So everyone had a rationale for why Luke didn't go physically and whatnot. But the one that I really liked was, I just read I wish I could remember who wrote it, but it was on like Twitter Moments. They went through this whole thread. And the idea was he snapped on his lightsaber and creates Kylo Ren, you know, in that moment where suddenly his nephew Ben sees what he thinks is Luke thinking about killing him, and we learn that Luke did have a moment where he was just like, I could kill baby Hitler right now. And he don't do it, but Kylo Ren catches him, and that created Kylo Ren. So Luke was not going to, like, it would be stupid for him to be like, and now I'll fight you to the death. because it would have made everything that Kylo Ren feared correct. And so Luke, in Empire Strikes Back, he's on Dagobah, and gets like the sensation, my friends, they're in fucking trouble. And he's like, I gotta go help him. And Yoda's like, fucking save him, you can't, or whatever, fuck. And so, he's like, if you leave now, you're training and shit. And he's like, I gotta fucking try. So he goes and things get fucked up. He doesn't save Han and shit like that. And Yoda was right. He probably shouldn't have fucking went. So in the third movie, the Emperor's like, in Return of the Jedi, he's like, your fleet is quite lost. Grab your weapon, strike me down. He's trying to get him to fucking go. And he does. At first, he's like, you piece of shit. And he gets it and he tries to fight him. And you've seen the movie. And Vader stops him and stuff. And then they have the big lightsaber fight. But then when he gets the upper hand on Vader and he could fucking kill him, and the Emperor's like, do it, fucking, kill your dad. And he's like, I won't do it. And he snaps his lightsaber off and fucking throws it down. That's the same fucking guy. He was the dude that was always trying to make a journey. Like, he believed in the Force and the Jedi and stuff. Like, it was important to him, like, this is the Jedi way. And I won't kill and shit. And he's like, then you'll die. And then his dad saves him. We know the rest. So that's very in keeping for that guy to be like, I'm going to show up on Crate, but not really be on Crate. He never fucking puts a lightsaber on Kylo Ren, even as a Force projection. He's just always fucking backing off and ducking and stuff like that. So it is very much in keeping with the character. But yet people are like, but that ain't my Luke Skywalker. And then I'm like, well, it really is. Like, I think in the marvelization of our entertainment, we expect our heroes now to be fucking superheroes, gods who can do everything. But in those movies, they never set those guys up to be gods. Like Ben Kenobi was an old man, and he could be like, you don't remember shit. But that's like, that was his biggest fucking power and stuff. Yoda, could like lift an X-Wing and shit, but he wasn't like, let's go take on the Empire and fucking kill them all. Like, he was like, I'm an old man. I'm fucking gonna die in the next movie. So that's what they had with Luke. It was almost like the person wrote in their Twitter feed, like Rian Johnson really had no choice but to go with that rendition of Luke, particularly with the version of Luke he was left with at the end of Force Awakens. The Force Awakens crawl is like, Luke Skywalker is missing. So the story is, presumably about, we got to find this fucking guy. At the end of the story, they find the guy and give him his lightsaber. Here's your metal dick back. And then at the beginning of this movie, he's like, fuck this, and throws it and shit. And we spend 2 hours for him to get back to the place where he's like, oh, I could do this without doing this. So he got to be true to himself and his ideals. And then people point out he couldn't have left Octo. He couldn't raise the fucking ship out of the water. The water ate the fucking, the connectors and fucking. Some people were like, you ever gotten water in your fucking car? And I was like, yeah, I lived through a flood, motherfucker. And so they were like, well, that's what happened. And I was like, all right, fair enough. And they said that astromech droid without an R2 unit, there's no way he could make the jump to light speed. So there's all these practical reasons, which we agree that Rian Johnson easily could have writered it away.
Right. I want him to leave. You know what? He leaves.
Yeah. But being what they did what they did, I'm comfortable with it. I kind of dig it. I like the idea that he tricked the First Order. And I like the idea, bless you, that he didn't physically, like he was going to die. He didn't die there on Crate because then the First Order's like, we killed the Jedi Master and shit. But instead, he fucks them all. He's just like, you didn't see anything. And he wasn't there. And everyone is going to hear about it, as we saw from those kids at the end of the movie telling the story of what we just watched. They're like, this motherfucker showed up and he wasn't there. He tricked these fuckers. There's hope in the galaxy. And if he's not dead, that means at any moment he could come back and be like, ooh. So I like it. I really come around to kind of digging it. Internet helped in a big bad way. I know usually the internet's like, fuck it to death, fuck it in its ear. But the internet was helpful on that one.
All right. I think
you're like, not for me.
Yeah, not for me. I still, but whatever. I do think that given that these 9 movies have been about the Skywalker family, and if you don't have Carrie Fisher to be Princess Leia in 9, you need Mark Hamill to carry that legacy into that movie. So I think purely as a mercenarily logical, logistical, real way of looking at it, you kind of have to. And I think you should. I think we need that. We need a little bit more closure than we got. So, yeah, I think we definitely see him again.
They killed Han Solo in Force Awakens. They killed, spoilers, they killed Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Sadly, Carrie is passed, so they have to deal with the Princess Leia of it all. But what do you think is the next big loss? They'll never kill Chewie. Because Chewie, you could be Chewie for 400 years. It's a guy in a suit and shit.
Yeah.
They won't kill the droids. That could be anybody and stuff. But I wonder if, but they got to kill something that makes us go, no, I fucking love that from my childhood. Next one, what do you think it will be?
I don't know. Because thinking that...
It's not the droids, because they can just change those forever. I think it's the Falcon.
Yeah. I think there's...
I didn't do it. I think it. But that would really rip all our hearts out. And at the same time, legacy cast is gone. Maybe they don't necessarily if it's a big enough story beat. I bet you
there's a beat in Battlestar Galactica, the refurbished version of it, where at the very end of those 4 years, and you see the Galactica that had been through all kinds of shit, like atmosphere flying, dropping pops in and out of fucking
jumps.
It was barely held together by dreams and seams, and you get that one last ride of the Battlestar Galactica, and it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking and it's an elegy. It's requiem for a heavyweight, and I think that there's a world that you could, if you wreck the Falcon in the perfect heroic sacrifice, then that's beautiful. If
the Falcon, in this movie, the ship that pew, goes through the Snoke ship. If it had been the Falcon on the Suicide Run, people would be like, but I get it, Somebody pointed out on Twitter, and I was like, that's a fucking good idea. I was saying, they had Laura Dern's character be the one that turns the ship around, takes the jump to light speed. And it was a wonderful moment. That moment was one of the greatest moments in a Star Wars movie. Oh shit, as they were doing it, I leaned forward in my seat and was literally just going, no. I was so happy of seeing something new that I'd never seen before. But then when I saw the movie the second time, I was like, oh fuck, man, it would have been better if General Organa, if Princess Leia was the one that was like, I'll do this shit. And then she's the one that takes the ship, because she'd been fighting these fuckers her whole fucking life. And for her to the only way to protect the resistance is going to be me, fuck it, I'll do it. They didn't make that choice, that's fucking fine. Somebody on Twitter, though, pointed out, why didn't they let it be Admiral Akbar? Because he got killed in that fucking scene. He gets blown out the back window like everybody else and shit. But that's it was a wasted chip, because that's one of those characters from the original trilogy who's a big part of our childhood that isn't like Luke, Han, and Leia, that they would have gotten tears for that fish guy if they would just been like, guess what? It was a fucking trap.
I found the way out of the trap. My heart is a trap.
Once
Princess.
again, man, the internet was right. That would have been a much cooler moment and stuff. I'm sure Ryan Johnson's like, hey, let me tell you what would have been better about Clerks if I had done it. It's just something I read that I thought would be cool. All right, where are we going next? And you win. You got your tickets?
Tickets.
Did you get them? Give it up for him. He got a great question, man. Give it up for him. He won his tickets, everybody. JC, where do we head to next?
Hey, how's it going?
How are you? What's your name?
Good, Andrew. So when you were scouting in Moose Jaw, I was in Regina shooting, and I had heard that you had applied for Creative Saskatchewan funding.
I didn't apply for it. They were going to give me, I think it was $250,000.
Yeah.
It's not a rebate program up there. It's like
it's like a grant
fund.
system
Yes.
fund. Yeah, it's really different. It used to be a tax rebate.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was also had put some stuff in for development. But I'm interested to know if there is anything that you've experienced as different in terms of funding projects in Canada versus LA, or filmmaking in places in Canada versus LA. Because I've recently come from Canada, so I want to start making things here, and wondering if you've experienced different things.
It's tough because that doesn't include Mark in the question.
I have so many thoughts about international Canadian financing schemes.
Kind of the idea of the questions is to not leave them standing out
there. The maple syrup to dollar exchange rate is strong enough that it's totally worth doing.
Let me see. To go here, I've made 2 movies set in Canada that neither were shot in Canada. So Tusk was made in North Carolina, and Yoga Hosers was made in Los Angeles. So I haven't figured out how to work in Canada yet, other than like, I've gone up there to shoot Flash and Supergirl, and I go up to shoot another episode of Flash at the end of the month. So I don't know what the cross exchange program is. I know that whenever I go up north, if I'm working on a Canadian production, I can't write or direct because those jobs get given generally to Canadians first. And then bless you. I tried to do Degrassi years ago. I tried to write and direct an episode and called up Linda Schuyler to be like, oh my God, I was a big fan of the original series. I'm watching this Next Generation. I see you're taking the Joey and Caitlin characters and you're going to put them together. I would love to be the guy that writes and directs those episodes. And Linda Schuyler was like, oh, you can't. She said, that obviously we're funded by the Canadian government, so all the key roles have to be filled by Canadians. She's like, I'd love you to have you write and direct those episodes, but you can't because you're not Canadian. That was the first time anybody ever told me no for that reason, You can't fight that. Normally if somebody's like, no, like, you can't do this, I was like, I'll show you. But like, they're like, you can't do this, you're not Canadian. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not, Shut me down quick. But I don't know how, is the question more about like how to work down here, I guess? Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask you how to work up there, because that's my dream. Yeah, we should flip lives. Yeah, I wish I had more information, but I don't, sadly. All right, where are we going to go next? Yes.
Good evening.
Hi,
Kevin,
is that
Mark.
a Darth Vader shirt, dress? What is?
It's a Iron Maiden Vader.
Not you.
Oh, all right, yeah, it's Darth Vader.
It's a Darth Vader dress.
That's badass.
That's fucking cool, man. Anyway, back to you.
Thank you. My question is kind of back to Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Not Force Awakens, Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
I love that movie, and yet online, not a day goes by that I see an article someone posts on Facebook with hate on it. I haven't seen this much hate since the acting of Christian Haydenson and Jar Jar Binks. And I'd like the opinion of why you think there's so much hate.
I think, and that's good, we can both hit that. I think at the end of the day, audience expectation plays into that. Like, when you're like, all right, the next movie's going to be all about Luke, and I've seen Luke in the trailer, and I know exactly who Luke Skywalker is, and now he looks like Obi-Wan, so he's going to be like this version of Obi-Wan. And then they give you a version of Luke that even Mark Hamill reportedly was like, I don't know, is this really supposed to be Luke Skywalker? It's not the one I remember. Some people, it hit them the wrong way, in a big bad way. I've seen, it's not just people going like, oh, I didn't like it. When they don't like it, it's vitriolic, as if, somebody fucked up their childhood. A lot of like, fuck Disney, Star Wars, I can't stand this anymore. I saw one tweet where they were like, it's a great Marvel movie, but it ain't no Star Wars movie and stuff. And that's a tepid criticism of the movie. Nearest I can figure, though, is the Luke angle. If they had just made Luke a superhero, like everybody seems to remember him, but he wasn't really, they would have appeased a lot more people. Maybe not, letting him die in that one. Maybe saving it for the next one. But if you don't have a mic, it doesn't work.
The beauty of these films is how the light overcomes the darkness in the universe, and there's going to be tragedy as well as comedy traditionally. So some people have a hard time accepting that.
I think there's also a sense of ownership that fans have felt about Star Wars for a long time, that it's such a part of their childhood, was such a part of the fabric of their upbringing, that there's an illusion that Star Wars in some way belongs to us. It doesn't really, never really has. Like, our ticket price allows us access to see the Star Wars. It doesn't ever, no matter how much we've spent on it, it never belongs to us, and that's how art works. Art belongs to the artist. They can share the art with us. Mass art belongs to everybody, gets to be enjoyed by everybody, but it's not ours. And so the sense that Star Wars did things I didn't expect, or maybe went in directions I didn't like, chafes against that idea that Star Wars is mine. Star Wars is a part of my personality and my persona, and I've invested so much time and energy and money in it that I feel like I have a say in it. But that's just not the way it works. That's not the exchange that we're dealing with. And I think that for the first time, bumped up against people in a real way, especially because Force Awakens was so much about nostalgia. So much about just like giving you the things that you knew you wanted. I want to see the fucking Falcon. I want to hear TIE fighters. I want to hear lightsabers click on it. I want to hear and see all of this shit. And for better or worse, that's what Force Awakens did. It reignited the fire of the rebellion. But this was a movie that was bound and determined to surprise and take us unawares and in many ways confound us by design. And some people just couldn't swing with that, and which is fine, which is fair. We're allowed to not like a movie. But the level of ownership people feel directly contradicted that sense of being able to let go and it just be a movie.
Also, I think it's ironic that, some people who complain about The Last Jedi are like, this ain't the Star Wars I grew up with, man. This ain't the George Lucas Star Wars. And, when George Lucas went back to Star Wars, everyone was like, go home! So you had the guy who created Star Wars make 3 new Star Wars movies, and everyone was like, he forgot how to do it. He should fucking go away. And he went away, and now people are like, where the fuck is that guy? Because they're ruining things. It just proves that the audience is fickle as fuck. And I think, once you move away from the maestro himself, George at least was a producer and a storyteller on Empire and Return of the Jedi. But these last 2 movies, famously, he has absolutely nothing to do with. Mark's right. With Force Awakens, you get the nostalgia rush. So, maybe we weren't as judgy about that movie as people are being about Last Jedi. Because, we're gonna make 3 Star Wars movies. Here's the first one, and there ain't a hint of Jar Jar in it. Enjoy, And so the audience is just like, oh God, it's fucking back. And now that they've had that moment, the next one had a tall order. Because you lose the joy of surprise and your childhood is back and shit. And now you just got to tell a real story that will further the story, build the world, make people interested and stuff. And people are less forgiving under those circumstances. And Ryan built something that wasn't, JJ built a puzzle box where he's like, what's going to happen next? Where'd the lightsaber come from? What does Maz know? What's Rey's real parents' names and shit like that? And Ryan's version was just like, this don't matter, this don't matter, this don't matter. None of these things matter. And the Force is not something you've ever really seen before. Here's a true representation of what it is. They did something different, and I think that's when people come out of the woodwork and be like, who is this guy? Why is he able to fucking tell this story? George Lucas never did that with these characters. People get indignant on behalf of the creative element for telling a story that stretches what they know about it. Think about it. They did more with the Force in that movie than they've ever done in any of the flicks. So much so they make jokes about it. It's not just about moving rocks and shit like that. And then they move rocks. But I think it's that. I think anybody who made that movie, I don't care who it was, they were going to receive a far more critical eye and going over than The Force Awakens got.
Yeah, and there was a thing, I talked about a little bit on Twitter a week or so after seeing the movie, and it was a bit of a harsh awakening, a rude awakening for me, but in looking at the way I feel about Star Wars and looking at Star Wars movies, the dirty secret, at least for me, is that none of them are really that good. Dramatically. As far as literally structural dramaturge, they're not great movies. They have amazing moments. They have moments of magic, and those moments of magic coast you through the rest of those movies. But Star Wars, you spend 40 minutes in the desert with droids before you meet your protagonist. That is bad structure. That is not how you invest an audience in a movie. It just isn't. But you get amazing fucking moments. You get Empire, which I love to death. There's 40 minutes in a swamp I fall asleep in every time I watch because the movie just stops cold. Sometimes these things aren't great, but we love them, and the moments in them are so great that it helps us overlook. It gives us that childish sense of wonder and reimagining and reawakening to it, that's the stuff we fall in love with. And so for as bad as even the fucking prequels are, each of them has a moment that is pure fucking Star Wars. Yes, you get fucking Jar Jar, but you get Duel of the Fates. Yes, you get the bullshit. We're fighting, investigating crime in a diner in space in the past for reasons I can never understand.
With a 6-armed chicken.
Sure, why not? But you also get the fight on Geonosis, which is beautiful, and it's just pure cinema. Every one of those movies has something amazing. Some have more than others, and those are the ones we love. But none of them are great movies in the way that, like, oh shit, Aliens is a great movie. Raiders is a great movie. Goodfellas is a great movie. Star Wars is a magical movie. You know, and I think that once you recalibrate your perspective into, like, I'm not looking for it to be amazing, I'm looking for moments that make me feel 8 again, then that's how you manage to see your way through even a movie that's like, all right, fucking Force Awakens, sure, it's a rehash, but I fucking got moments. I got a lightsaber flying into the arms of a girl I've never met before. That's an amazing moment. That was the best moment in a movie I'd seen that year.
Also, it's like way more competitive now, right? Like when they told those original stories, there was nothing else like it out there. And now there's a lot of things like that. It paved the way for other things. And yeah, they're not all as important and tie back to our childhood as Star Wars, but like now there's fantasy everywhere. You know, we live in a world of pop culture, and like the movies cater pretty much to the tastes of those that like that flick. And we've seen sophisticated treatment of, you know, material most people dismiss as juvenile and done in a, you know, way better way than some flicks that we've seen within the Star Wars universe. It's just harder to impress people now. Think about all the choice they have. Like at the end of the day, if you were to watch, you know, fucking the Phantom Menace after you watched any random episode of Black Mirror, you'd be like, ugh. You know, because the bar for like what's fucking entertaining or what's new or what captures your imagination keeps getting raised, not just cinematically, but with like streaming and everything like that. I don't envy anybody that has to try to tell a massive story, a commercial movie at this point, because it's tougher to impress the audience. It ain't even enough to do it with the brand name anymore, to be like, this is a Star Wars movie and stuff. As we see, we get a bunch of people going, not to me, it's not, go fuck yourselves. So we'll see how it affects the next movie. Box office wise, is doing just great, I'd imagine.
It's number 12 all time, I think.
Yeah, Disney's like, we're worried about the next one.
Oh no.
Maybe we'll change for you. Go fuck yourselves. Yeah, but I don't split them and be like the Disney version of Star Wars versus the classic old version of Star Wars. I think they're doing a good job. Like, I've enjoyed these flicks, and I too also don't understand the intense vitriol for that movie. It's one thing to be like, I don't like that movie, but it's another thing to be like, the movie's a fucking abortion of cinema. You get the tickets. Well done. Give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Where are we going next, JC? You're welcome.
Hi, it's my first time here.
First time here? Yeah. It's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cantina is a great place to hang out, man.
We'll likely kill you in the morning.
This question's for both of you guys. What are your definitive Batman stories within comics? One particular story. And how have those stories affected your careers or writing thus far within your career? So.
You mean we got to talk about Batman? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, mine hands down is The Dark Knight Returns. At a certain point in my life, it became my Bible, not just like, oh, I like this story. I've said many times, this is one of the greatest pieces of American literature ever produced, just also so happens to have a lot of Batman in it at the same time. That book has a line on the first page that, like, I used at a point in my life where I wasn't sure what to do with the rest of my career and stuff like that. There's a moment in the beginning where first page of Dark Knight Returns, Bruce Wayne is racing a car, and he's an old man now and shit like that, and the car's gonna lose control, and he's racing at Ferris racetrack or something like that. And he talks about like he takes the machine off the computer, he's driving himself, and he's going into a controlled fucking slide, he's gonna hit a wall and shit. And he says, this would be a good death. And then next panel, he fucking saves himself. He says, but not good enough. And turns, and the adventure begins. That story could end on page 1 with a guy who's like, I used to give my life for this fucking city. Now I've just been out of the game for a while. And I never died at the hands of the fucking Joker or the fucking Penguin. And if I gotta die, driving around in a race car, fuck it. Like, this would be a good death. And at the last second, like, decides, but not good enough, and fucking starts the story. And I remember when I was, it's not an exact parallel, but when I was working at Warner Brothers on Cop Out, after we were done with the movie, Warner Brothers was very happy with the flick and gave me a stack of scripts, 5 scripts. They were like, pick the next one, do another one. We love working with you. But I fancy myself like a writer-director, and I had some stories that I wanted to tell rather than want to tell somebody else's stories. But I looked at the scripts, and when you become a director for hire, it's sweet, man. Like, when I do the shows, when I do like Flash or Supergirl, you have very little responsibility. They build that show every week, so you just have to show up and make people positive while you're there. That's it. It's easy, crazy, stupid money. So the idea of doing that at the studio level, where they would pay me to like just direct other people's scripts, execute, maybe try to elevate and stuff, but at the end of the day, they're like, we just need somebody who knows how to say action and cut and control the set and stuff like that. It's a tender trap. It's a gilded cage. So I sat there going like, fuck, man, maybe I could become this guy. Like the guy that just directs for the studio. They like me, they get along with me and shit like that. And this would be a good death. Like, this would be the way to ride out the fucking career. You didn't see this coming, and you've done your bit for fucking King and Country, and you've had your fun, and you fucking told your stories. Just fucking, this is it. This would be a good death. And then instead of doing it, I was like, but not good enough. And then I went to Red State and Tusk and Yoga Hosers. And some people were like, you should have crashed the fucking car. But I don't know. It's just like, that would have been a good death, man. Like, nice to be within the studio system. Fuck, I'd have eventually graduated to making a fucking comic book movie or something like that. But I didn't get into this to do that stuff. Like, you know, I love watching that stuff, but I didn't get into it to make that stuff. I got into it to be me. Just like fucking Bruce Wayne didn't get into that car to fucking die just by going around the track. He's like, if I'm gonna die fucking fighting for Gotham and shit. And mine's not nearly as fucking noble. I'm not saving anybody. The only thing I'm saving though is like, I don't know, the conscience and the integrity of the kid that started this journey. Every day of my life, I think about the kid that started all this, the guy who saw Slacker and was like, fuck, I want to make a movie and shit like that. And I try to respect that person's ideals because I'm far from that kid. It's been like 25 years since I've been that kid, and I like to think I'm the same person, but fucking life has happened to me, and a lot of different choices come my way, and now there's family to think about and shit like that. So it's tougher the older one gets to maintain all the ideals that you set out for yourself back when you started the journey. But even if it means not making as much money, because money was never the aim of this shit with me. I just wanted to tell stories. So I've not done as financially well in my career as I should have or whatever. But that's because that's not what drove me. If it means letting go of fucking money to do the interesting thing, I'd rather die doing the interesting thing, even if everybody's like, it fucking sucks. I was like, I know, but that's me, way more than me like shooting somebody else's script or something like that. And that came from that book, or at least that's the justification I use whenever my wife's like, why aren't you more successful? I say, I read The Dark Knight Returns once, you know. What about you?
I feel like there's this legendary concert called the Tammy Show. Have you ever seen this? Mm. It was a teenage music festival, and the Rolling Stones were the headliners, and James Brown was also on the bill, and James Brown was usually the headliner, and so James Brown was like, listen, I get the Rolling Stones. If you're gonna make me go out, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna fucking kill it. I'm gonna leave everything on the floor. And James Brown goes out, gives this legendary fucking performance, and then walks over to the Rolling Stones and says, follow that, motherfuckers. So, like, literally, like, sweat on the stage, his pants were ripped, the whole fucking shit. That's how I feel now. Like, what's your favorite Batman story? It is not a story. It is an image. And I think Mark Millar had tweeted it out earlier, a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
But it's this Darwin Cook. He had done a run of covers. For a month, Darwin Cook did every cover for every DC book. And his Batman one, or it might have been Detective, I'm not sure which it was, but it was literally Bruce Wayne in half his Batman costume, half out of it. Cowless, laying on like a chaise lounge. It's a fancy word, but I'm a little French. And
a chair with a ottoman.
Yeah. And he's bruised and he's got bandages on his hands, and he's got like ice on a knee, and he's just scarred and bloody. And Alfred is standing over him, sleeping. And Alfred is standing over him, draping his cape over him like it's a blanket. And it is the most tender Batman image I think I've ever seen. But it is all about sacrifice. It is all about love. It is all about passion and drive, and it's all about resilience. And how all of those things are tied into the same Gordian knot that you can't actually extricate from each other.
The Jim Gordian knot.
Wow. That is 2 for 2, my friend.
Thank you.
New Orc and the Jim Gordian knot. Wow.
One more pun, I get a set of steak knives.
But yeah, it is this image that encapsulates everything that I love about Batman, everything that I love about Alfred, who is one of my favorite characters, and everything that I love about superhero-dom in general, and that it's about sacrifice. Like life is always easier if you just take the short road. But Bruce Wayne, for reasons that may or may not be advantageous to Gotham, doesn't take the short road. Because there's also a world in which a fucking billionaire who just invests his money in, I don't know, infrastructure, education, police, all of the things that a broken city needs, they don't really need people punching each other in the face.
They're like, how much did that Batwing cost?
Yeah, I don't
He's
know.
like $4 billion. They're like, that could have paid for schools for 8 years.
Pretty much. I don't know, we can put T1 lines in here, everybody gets internet. Wouldn't that be great? No, I want to punch.
They're like, and how about instead of fucking punching the Penguin, everyone gets free college in Gotham?
Wouldn't that
He's
be
like,
cool?
who am I, Bat Bernie Sanders, man? Like, I do what I can.
But Bruce Wayne is a crazy person. We love him, but he's a crazy person. And so his crazy person leads him to go out by night, dress himself up, and get himself beat up for us. He's fantasy Jackie Chan. And if you've ever seen the end of a Jackie Chan movie, you realize what that motherfucker does for my $8. But that image it's this perfect crystalline nugget of everything that I love about Batman. So it did not change my life. It is not the thing that sets me on the path every morning, but sometimes you got to follow James Brown.
You get the tickets? You get those tickets?
Find us a lady, JC.
Well done. All right, we got one last set of tickets, folks. One last question.
He's not a lady.
My wife's the lady.
Come on, it's been a sausage party. Find us a lady.
There's a lady right there, and she's waving her hands
we got
around
two
a big
ladies
bad
here.
way.
We got one more back here. How about this lady? Yes.
Yeah. We just need one woman, please.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Hello.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
a woman, and I have a question about women's stuff.
Oh my God, fantastic.
please.
Hopefully it applies to both me and Mark, though.
This does.
Good.
Given the current cultural climate and the success that Patty Jenkins had with Wonder Woman, I'm curious to know if you guys, which of your favorite female filmmakers would you love to see attached to any comic book properties?
I would give Lexi Alexander anything. I loved her Punisher movie. I thought it was fantastic. I like the Punisher series quite a bit, but her Punisher movie was like, God, that is the fucking character. She certainly knows how to shoot the shit out of action. She's the first person I'd think of. You?
Two people. Ava DuVernay, who turned down Black Panther to do Wrinkle in Time.
Which looks awesome.
But I think that in her hands, with her eyes, I think we get a superhero movie like we've never seen before. And Rachel Talalay, who did Tank Girl back in the day.
And she currently does Flashes. She's done a few episodes of Flash.
She's done Doctor Who.
Yeah, she also did Freddy's Dead. That's right.
But
the movie that literally ends with that line. I remember seeing it in the theater. It was like, oh, well, there's the title. That's how it ends. She's just like, Freddy's Dead, credits. And you're like, wow, that's marketing.
But I think she has got a gift for genre, and I think she's got enough miles on her that she knows every way to not tell a bad story.
And she was digging the trench when people were dreaming about comic book movies. She made Tank Girl, and whether you're a fan of the movie or not, that was a comic book movie.
It's a comic book movie. It's a deeply flawed comic book movie, but there are still images and sequences in that movie that are pretty friggin' great. And
She wanted to do Preacher for years.
Yeah, she was trying for a long time.
As a feature, like with a Garth Ennis script and Steve Dillon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a great pull. I met her up in Vancouver. She was doing an episode of Flash, and she'd done a few. Really cool lady, man. Really cool.
Yeah, like most recently, she directed the Doctor Who Christmas special, the handoff between the dude doctor and the lady doctor.
Oh, she did that one?
Yeah, she did that one.
Where he regenerated and did that list. Be kind. Mm-hmm. Rewind. He didn't say that.
He did. And it's a beautiful piece of work, and it's a great piece of cinema. And I think that she has earned a shot back to reach for that brass ring. That'd be my vote.
And to be fair, like she's worked consistently. It's not like give her another shot. She's constantly at work.
Yeah, I mean, she got kicked in the teeth a little bit after Tank Girl.
She did. And she'll tell you about it too.
Yeah, it cost a lot of money, and she was in what is commonly referred to as director jail.
Movie
for a
jail
long time.
for a while. Yeah.
But she has consistently worked and worked strong, and there is no reason why she shouldn't get a shot back at it, given there are people who've made bigger flops than her who get to make more movies. That's my vote.
You weren't talking about me, were you?
Not at all. I also would like to see Karen Kusama take a shot at it. I thought
Who did Girl Fight? And she
did
also
Girl
did
Fight.
Aeon Flux.
She did, but she did this movie called The Invitation. I want to say 2 years ago, maybe.
Who's in it?
Kind of nobody. It's a super indie movie that I think she shot in her house, but it's an incredibly tense piece of work. It's genre, but not crazy genre, and the ending will blow your fucking teeth off. But I think she could absolutely do a fantastic, America Chavez movie. I would watch the shit out of that.
He says as he swigs a beer, I'd watch a shit out of that fucking Karen Kuzma movie.
There are so many ladies who could do this really well, but they don't get a shot. More ladies!
By the time we get to the point of the show that Mark is just fucking drunk,
it hasn't happened yet.
we know that it's time to fucking wrap up.
Yes, but you get tickets too.
Yeah, you definitely win those tickets. Give it up for him, man. That was a great question. Ladies and gentlemen of the Scum and Villainy Cantina, have you had a good time this evening? We love doing this show, man, but I don't get to have as much fun as I do doing the show without the man standing next to me. Give it up for Marc Bernardin. We return next week. What day is it, JC? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? When are we here?
Tuesday the 16th.
Tuesday the 16th. Tickets available at csmod.com. But that's all we got for this week, man. That's Fat Man Batman for this week. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next week. Same fat time, same fat channel. smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
Good night, everybody.